Alright. Sliver Weftwinder. All slivers have Warp 3. When slivers you control have, when it enters, conjure a random card from the spellbook, which there are 24 different ones. And then it's at the top 10, and then you draw. So ideally, the top of your deck is slowly amassing itself full of slivers, and then you cast them and continue to draw, and you're drawing nothing but slivers eventually, I suppose. Most of the slivers, I'm not going to go over all of them, are kind of just whatever, just like random text, or they might do something exciting or something. Same with the ones in the deck. The only really notable one to me is Menaweft Sliver. All the others are just like defensive or offensive things. I don't have every single sliver in the game. I don't even think I'm close. Whoop. The main one that I don't have that probably wants to go in this deck is this one. Right? I'd probably put this in here. This one, you don't necessarily need it, but it's something you could just put in your 5-color sliver deck, I suppose. It probably makes for a better commander than the one we're playing as well. I have not seen anyone play this as a commander yet, but we're just going to do the space one. But yeah, definitely Hive Lord, I'd say. But you don't necessarily need Overlord. I know it like does everything you want, but I wouldn't feel super obligated about that one. Another one is like the stat one, Predatory Sliver. I don't care about this or Double Strike. I know it can randomly kill your opponent when you play this and you have a critical mass of things in play, but I'm more worried about establishing some kind of board presence than I am making it a lethal board presence with damage, because if you have 5 slivers and they're unchecked, you're probably winning anyways, and it didn't matter if they had double strike, because your opponent didn't answer your wall of slivers. Not even to mention the card advantage of, drawing a card every time you essentially play a sliver. So all the tribal effects in the game that I think are worth playing are kind of in here. The 5-mana ones are a bit ugly. I don't really like Kindred Discovery or Banner, just because they cost 5. It's kind of showing up a little too late, but with a deck that wants to continue to play slivers from the top of the deck, I suppose these make more sense. And then we have the funny Space Sliver card that definitely does the double strike and haste all in one. So that's pretty funny. All right, let's see what happens. Well, on the play with that. Excellent. Didn't go for their commander. So, Sliver. Giver runes, again, doesn't really matter here. Okay, I so far haven't lost instantly. Did they play that out of their hand? Why did my opponent play the land out of their hand? Seems unnecessary. Okay. So, Golos. That's definitely a good card, huh? One would argue. I can cast my... oh, well... let's just cast Golos here. Get the World Tree? Does Ancient Tomb matter? Not really. Actually, I could just get Command Tower. Full stop. Because I'm not going into 6 mana. Yeah, let's just get Command Tower, I guess. Mm-hmm. The Alchemy Desert. I'm a little surprised to see something like Chocobo here. Renin 6 is like the game action deck. It makes so many game actions every turn. It takes the longest turns. At least it makes the game actions and your opponent isn't just like staring at you. Alright, I'm gonna warp this. Oh, I didn't warp it. Wait, can you not warp this? Oh, I can. I don't know why it didn't let me. Maybe I'm just dumb. Alright. Let's get basic planes, because the solar transformer. Oh, island was the fun. It doesn't really matter. Actually, should I just play this? I'm not even sure why I need more mana. Renin 6 is at 5 loyalty. Does that change anything? Does that make me want to do stuff? Not really. No, I'm just not going to do anything. You can't warp it? Okay. Alright, good to know. Right, it's just like the red commander. Yeah, it can't warp itself or whatever. It's only out of hand because you can't warp from a command zone. Well, nothing has trample and strip mine hasn't existed yet. So the game continues. I wonder if I'm supposed to smack my opponent. Wait, what are you doing? Okay, I was about to say, yeah, you can't swing. Warping Faceless is really satisfying. Does this kill my opponent? Not quite. I'm not going to warp it. There's no reach, though. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's not lethal. 15. Still doesn't change anything. So we'll play this. 9, 10, 11. Okay, it's not lethal. Okay, well they're over it. We did it. There's also a huge language barrier in Cockatrice. I'm like, you can't do that. And they're like, oui. I'm like, no, you... Okay. Well, it's not a no-ban list format, or tournament, if Nadu is banned. That's not how that works. Let's, Can I copy Bloom Tender and have that matter? Kind of? Yeah? Alright, I like that. I like that a lot. One, two, three, four. Black, green. Alright, so I can just cast my commander. I'm gonna get a tap land here. Nope, I want to red. No, come on. Ay. Green, blue. There. Behold, we have Outlast. My deck testing is me streaming the deck. That's what that is. Or watching it be played against me. What? Okay. That was a little weird. Yep. Enters or attacks? Nope. Oh boy. The algo sees me? Huh? Those words. What are those words? What do they mean? Sliver. What is this even doing? Push damage? I don't care. I want to cast this. I came here to cast this. You can't stop me. I've been stopped. Okay, this is maybe good news. So, let my opponent just... Actually, no, I can double warp. Okay, we can just warp. Okay. Unfortunately, that doesn't do much here. Doesn't do much. Wow, they just took it? Why wouldn't you just take that? What is the Allosaurus Shepherd doing that you want to not just jump with it? That's weird. Well, you need a counterspell, interaction, any combination of that. That is not it. Frenzied Baloth. Okay. Person does not like getting counterspelled, I guess. I don't really know if I'm 100% on that. So we cast this one. And then I cast Mana Weftwinder. Do I have pre-combat? Does it matter? No, not really. Not really. Okay, I'm smelling blood in the water here. Mm-hmm. Well, the value would be just casting Rampant Growth instead of random 3/2. So you can cast this more consistently and not care about counter spells. That is notably not lethal, so... That is also not fundamentally changing anything. They have to draw something that matters, and they have to do it this turn. We did it. We did it. This is a game my opponent swept their own board, so... Grixis. Probably gonna play Fastwood Surge this turn. Yeah. Or, I mean, at least try to do as such. Make the attempt. Alright, we did it. Look at that. Unstoppable ramp spell. Opponent was over it. We take those. That was a 1 in 24? No, less than that. It was less than that. Well, Defense of the Heart is extremely oppressive for this deck to play against, so... Okay, they just didn't do anything. That seems... weird. Yeah, that seems really weird. So... Untapped black and just cast this. They cycle a land for the turn? That is wild. Alright, well they have to play under Defense of the Heart now, even though my Defense of the Heart is actually not that scary at all. Like, the cards I get with it don't just win. Opponent doesn't know that. Whoa. Alright, my opponent just windmill slammed Leyline of Anticipation. Blue, black, green, red, white. Yeah, we're gonna play the new one. I could play the first Sliver, but we should probably play the new one. Because it's new. That's what we came here to do. I would argue this one might just be a little bit better, though. Okay, that was a very good draw. In fact, that was so good I can just warp it. Just play... land... This one? Value? I'm not going to swing. I think they could have something weird now. It's actually quite likely. Okay, they did not have anything quote-unquote weird, but still kind of weird. I mean, you can't station when this is at instant speed. This is kind of funny looking. But your whole deck has flash, but you can't play another creature, which means you can't swing. Opponent is aware of this. Let's do Sliver. Come on, I can do it. Play this. Yeah, we can just warp it. Oh hey, it's Mythweaver Pock. Look at that. Just in time for something to happen. Play this. I could play this thing. I guess I will. It costs 0 mana. Nah, I can just wait. I can just go to combat first, see what happens. Okay, so now I'm just not going to cast it. And pass. Okay, so they can flicker their commander to make a bunch of tapped space lands this turn. And we have lethal next turn. It was almost lethal there, but not quite. The kitten only just bounces for tap lands currently. So it's not like it just generates mana or something. So, Roaming Throne and this. Yeah. This is counterable, unfortunately. I'm still gonna cast it. I mean, it costs 0. No downside of just trying to cast it. Oh yeah, we got extra toughness. Alright, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff here. My hand is also chock full of nonsense. Well, I like, well, actually, and this thing. Slivers have haste, so when they enter, they give me mana. There's a fairly decent chance I find lethal here. If it isn't already lethal. Oh, this is quite enjoyable. Is this infinite? No, not quite. but I want to keep going. Maybe I should stop, because if they have some kind of sweeper, wouldn't be too ideal. Although this deck would have to run a sweeper. Opponent would have to just literally run one. And I'm still getting value, so it would be probably, to play around a sweeper, a good idea to tap some of these slivers to cast, just put more lands in play. So I can play the game after I get hit by a sweeper. If that is what's going on currently. Which, by the looks of it, it kind of seems to be the case. This is mana neutral. Hey, I can reanimate. Nothing. Alright. What does Diffusion Sliver do? Oh, it's just another one of these. It's a different art, though. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna go to combat. What do you got? Alright, so I was right about that. Let's tap this for green, blue, red, white. Is that it? Yeah, that's all I can do. Alright, let's play... Oh, jeez. Mythweaver Pock again? Might just be the best idea. It's a giant threat, so... Sure. Keep 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Okie dokie. We did it. Wasn't sure what the next thing they could have had was, but it would have been kind of crazy if they played River's Rebuke, I guess. Look at that. Alright. So, this commander is, let me put these here. This is just really, really, really bad. Of all the, like, 5 color Wooburg Slivers. This one is definitely not very... It's probably one of the weakest ones, honestly. You have, like, that one, the first Sliver, and what's the other one? Sliver Hive Lord? Is that it? Of, like, the 5-color ones? Oh, it's Sliver Overlord. Yeah, this is a legendary, too. This one will have kind of the same issue as this one. So I said I wish I had this in this deck. This would not have done anything in almost any game had I cast it. So I was kind of wrong about that. I guess I'm lucky I didn't craft it. This would not have changed anything. It took me an extremely long time to just get like a few wins. I basically lost every game I played. The less slivers I ran, the stronger this deck got, because I could put in actually good cards. Because as fun as you want to have with whatever you're trying to do, as fun as you think Slivers is, your opponents don't care. They're going to completely decimate and trample over you with basically anything in the game. That doesn't take much to kind of destroy what this wants to do. So I would recommend not playing this. This is probably a 1 out of 10. Power level is probably because it's 5-color and you don't actually have to play slivers, just like sort of what the first sliver does. I suppose its bare minimum is like 5 out of 10, because you could play anything else and just ignore your command zone, effectively, and just be like a 5 or maybe even a 7 out of 10 if you have some kind of Golos pile or whatever that is, 5-color good stuff pile. Or just what, you know, I ended up pivoting slowly each time I, you know, lost the game, went in, said the card was bad, put another one else, pivoting into, like, green, because that is obviously the best thing you can do, and that made it so I could at least sometimes cast this. It just means I have less slivers to then play, but I started to look at the slivers that I actually had in my deck as castable things, and, like, this, or this... Like, the 2-mana ones, just because they are cheap to cast, seemed appealing. Blur Sliver actually didn't accomplish anything. I ended up taking that one out. The best one was Cloud Shredder, right? It does still demand that you're doing the thing, right? Your commander's in play and is unimpeded, and you're continuously warping or just drawing slivers that draw more slivers. So, if you're doing that thing, then yeah, having this as your, effectively, a Craterhoof Behemoth, it's almost exactly the same as Craterhoof Behemoth. Congratulations. But, like, the other ones in the oh, right, Mana West Sliver. This one's obviously just goes without saying is insane as well. The other ones just don't matter. Ward 2 is okay, right? Or, you know, the old text of Ward 2, this is effectively Ward 2. That's alright. This one just doesn't matter. This one is kind of cool. Unearth could matter. It would only matter in games where you have like stuff in the graveyard that cares about this, which in that scenario you're probably already lost. So I don't think unearthing anything really matters. But sometimes I guess it can. Like you play this and maybe unearth your commander or something. I don't know. But all in all, most of these slivers are just awful. Just really, really, really bad. I thought there were more slivers in the game than there were. Full stop. So that surprised me. Thought there were way more slivers than there were just in the game in general. It's like, oh, it's the first sliver. You know, you see this in the command zone. It's like, oh, of course they're not going to play slivers. They never do. And then you see them play a sliver. You're like, oh, you get all excited. But then you realize there's actually not that many slivers to play. Just full stop. You have, I think, more. Ooh, might not be true. Might be about the same. Oh, come on. I can do it. I can do it. You just need to trust me. I did it. Alright. Alright, there isn't actually more changelings than there are slivers, but it's kind of close. And some of these are decent. Like, I was playing this one. Oh, wait, there's a colorless. Yeah, there's a bunch of colorless ones. I forgot. This one is okay. Just to do the text box here. Faceless Agent is probably just an auto-include. I don't really care about this. Yeah, so the creature type mattering, like the tribal aspect of this, is kind of the weakest thing about it. And that just makes it, in general, a pretty weak, low-power commander, you could play every single sliver and just say screw it, and if you lose, you lose, if you win, you win, and you just keep doing the thing until something happens. You don't care about winning or losing or whatever, you just play the slivers to enjoy the process, go for it. But they're just extremely low power. A lot of them are so bad they might as well not have any text on them at all, like the Outlast one. It just might as well not say anything on the card, honestly. So most of the slivers are just really bad, and there's just not a lot to choose from. So slivers in general, just not really getting there. Slivers was kind of the first creature type that like the first tribal deck I ever played was slivers. As far back as I can remember, yeah, I think it was actually slivers, like really, really long time ago. And then it was fungus. I think was the second one, and I liked fungus a lot more. But you know, obviously in paper you have access to extremely powerful and busted things that slivers love to do. That's just not here on Magic Arena. And outside of that, this card can't obviously warp from the command zone because warp is only from hand. I think I confused myself with that with a different warp card as well. I can't remember, but yeah, warp is not something you can do out of the command zone. I kind of wish it was. I don't understand why this card specifically couldn't have warp from the command zone because it's not a real card, and Yuriko has ninjutsu from the command zone. This is obviously tailored for exclusively Brawl, right? I mean, I guess you could play this in normal historic or whatever, but it's just a historic Brawl card. That's why they created the card for Magic Arena. Don't really know why it doesn't have warp from the command zone. It really should, like full stop. It wouldn't even break the card. It would just be still the same. Like it wouldn't actually do anything. You know, I'm sitting here advocating for it, but it actually wouldn't fundamentally change any of the problems with this card. If your turn 3 or your 3 mana play, let's say on turn 2, was warping this, that doesn't actually do that much except put a really bad card in the top 10 cards of your deck. But it does draw a card, so it's not it offsets itself, right? But you will draw this weird thing. That's another thing. It puts them on the top 10, but you can't just expect to play this. There's so many issues with this, on top of it being a sliver strategy. One of the issues is the slivers you put on top of your deck, you can, like, shuffle those away, and will very likely shuffle those away. Because you kind of have to play at least all of the fetch lands. I mean, you would be crippling yourself if you didn't. But if you avoided every card that shuffled your library, you now have a more consistent sliver top 10 pile of your deck. But I don't know. That's like... It just... You know, your deck would take a serious blow to its power level if you did that. And the benefit is you just randomly put these on top, and most of them don't really do anything unless you have more than one of them at the same time, right? The first one's like kind of cool, you know, sometimes hitting the first sliver off of it or the other Hive Lord or something. Like sometimes they matter, but not most of the times they don't. So it's just a huge issue. The sliver matters cards that are not slivers, like let's say Roaming Throne, is kind of nice. If you're doing this repeatedly, or just Roaming Throne your commander thing repeatedly, you're probably winning, right? The kind of the idea of playing this card is to turn your commander into this insane value engine, and that was actually not present with this one. When I had Roaming Throne, you would do well to play a card. I mean, it is a sliver, I guess, but still, it just really didn't feel like doing this thing twice was ever really that good. You could probably even just play Yarok. I mean, you are 5 color, that you can do whatever you want. You could pivot and have like 3 or 4 really weird combos in here, like Godo, Asura Rack, Overwhelming Splendor. You could just do a bunch of random, like, giant haymakers that ideally win the game on the spot. I didn't even have a good Defense of the Heart. I think my Defense of the Heart target was Roaming Throne and I don't even know what the other one was. For Sliver, I guess. Like, there really isn't a good defense here. So you could do Gristlebrand Shieldred as well, and then also run like Tooth and Nail, just to have ways to actually win the game. Because if you're relying on this, you have to cast it, which is pretty easy. It's pretty easy to get all the colors in play rather quickly, especially if you're green, right? And all 5 color decks are green, so I would say it's pretty easy at this point in Magic the Gathering's lifespan to just get every color in play by like turn 4. That is just not really an issue. I did find myself color screwed a few times, but not too many times. People keep recommending the Signets and Talismans. Those don't color fix you. They just give you 2 random colors. So if you had all the Talismans in here and you have a bunch of islands and swamps in play, the blue-black Talisman and the blue-black Signet don't do anything. You know, so don't play the Signets. You're a green deck. Just play mana that you can choose, like Cold Steel Heart, or just rainbow ones like Arcane Signet. The 3 mana ones are probably okay. I think they're passable, which opens up the floodgates to infinite amount of options, because there's infinite Celestius reprints here. There's 1,000 of these at 3 mana. So the color fixing can always be addressed if you don't like the current iteration of your deck. You can just find a way to do it. It's really not a big deal. But yeah, as your 5 color 5 mana payoff, this is just so bad. I also noticed that Gigantha was like 2 away, or someone in chat noticed that it was like 2 away from just being a companion. So I took out the double greens and added it. I didn't do anything. It almost did the first game I put it here, and then it didn't do anything after that. In fact, I think I put it to my hand a couple times after, but it didn't do anything. So, just a cute little value thing. If your emotions dictate that a companion puts you in a higher bracket, I guess don't do this. But if your emotions don't care, then there you go, because I can't definitively tell you if putting this in the companion zone changes your bracket. Did not feel like it, though. But again, those are my feelings. I can't objectively tell you. You have to ask Wizards. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. Okay, wait, no, the Skrelv Mother of Runes stuff didn't matter, so these could probably have just been something else. I don't really know what. I thought it would probably be a good idea to sometimes keep this around past or through my... Oh, they're right next to each other. Through my opponent's infinite removal and stuff, but it just didn't really feel too great to just sit on these cards to sometimes get a bunch of value here, and then sometimes have that value truly matter. So I don't know if the protection spells on this really did much. I would probably just pivot into more giant explosive game-winning threats, or just more hardcore interaction, like Mana Drain, Casualties of War, stuff like that. I actually took out Golos, because Golos spinning his ability is extremely low power in this deck, and at 5 mana, I wasn't really at that point when I could cast Golos at 5 mana. I was no longer interested in finding the World Tree, because I have displayed an ability to cast a 5-drop in the form of Golos. This also costs 5. And at that point, I would rather Golos be like a 2 or 3 mana spell that ramps me into 5 mana. So then I can actually cast this, right? Because casting Golos instead of this on 5 is just kind of weird. Kind of weird. This is not the scariest thing, but it is sort of like another Craterhoof Behemoth once you're full of Slivers in play. But if you are full of Slivers on the battlefield, then you're probably winning anyways. And I don't know if this would have changed that much, but I guess congratulations, you now have a 0 mana double strike haste thing that you've played for your Slivers. It doesn't give them flying, and it also doesn't give them more stats or anything, so it's not quite like Craterhoof. To be completely honest with you, you could probably play Craterhoof in this deck. Maybe just take this card out completely or something, but With all the mana dorks and stuff, Craterhoof would have felt probably more consistent at actually just trampling over, because you know all of these one drops would actually care about Craterhoof. This doesn't care at all about most of the really anything that isn't a sliver. The 2/1/1s are kind of adorable when they both trigger this thing, but again, it's not actually that amazing. Yeah, this deck needs to not rely on slivers. So because of that, it's just not a very good commander. You can play a bunch of other things that do something kind of similar, but vastly superior. And while slivers are super hyper synergy, I mean, it's the most synergy you could really ask for in any kind of deck. It was like, especially a tribal deck. It's like nothing is going to out synergize a sliver strategy. It's just that those synergies require critical mass in this format. So without the best of the best slivers in the game, in Magic Arena, then your critical mass strategy is doubly bad, because you're not reliably ever going to create critical mass. And if you do, the critical mass, if you create it on Magic Arena, is not extremely terrifying for most decks. So that's that. Let me know what you thought about it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.